The Deion Sanders thing. I bet full bore, was into it, was excited, thought that he only needed to hire a Cutcliffe and a Chavis, a competent coordinator, and he's going to be off and running when it comes to recruiting. And I still believe that. But the question is, what does it mean that Tennessee football beat out Deion Sanders for Ginther, who is from Colorado? Well, I'll tell you what it means. I think some of the shine's off. I think some of the shine's off Deion Sanders. He did the "We Coming" and all that stuff, and that was neat. And I watched a little bit of it. But then I mentioned to you at one point that is Deion special that was on Netflix or whatever it's on had fake reporters. They're standing there with full notebooks like they would have gotten in their school supplies from, I don't know, Big Lots. And they're asking about, how about number 82? And how about, and that's just not the way. I mean, first of all, you don't stand right next to coaches during practice. Second, you have a reporter's notebook. Third, you know who number 82 is. Okay. So you don't say who's number 82. Who's that guy, that has I'm trying to think of a name, Smith across his back. I mean, you know who it is. You know who the players are. If you don't know who the players are in the first day of spring camp, you got a problem. So my answer to your question about Tennessee beating out a Colorado prospect to leave is that at the end of the day, there's going to be a balance sheet, and Deion Sanders is only going to have so much money to spend, and it's not going to be in NIL money. It's not going to be initially as much as Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Southern Cal, USC. There's going to be 20 plus schools they're going to be able to spend more than him, Caleb. And he's going to bring in endorsements in year 2, and you could have the Buffs made tough by Ford, built tough. And then that changes things. But as for right now, he's pitching a product that had, I think, 2 wins last year that hasn't been very good. And I think there's a glass ceiling in year 1 of what you can accomplish from a recruiting standpoint. You?
I'm going to go take it a step further. I think he's pitching himself as a product. And I don't think he realizes is that at the college football level, he's not that much of a product to sell. I mean, let's be honest. If there are coaches with incredible credibility at programs that are blue bloods all over, and the celebrity status of a coach in college football that only takes you so far. I mean, if you're a young recruit, look, we still don't know about Deion Sanders coaching at this level. We have thoughts, but his selling point is coaching at Jackson State, where, yes, he did out-recruit everybody at HBCUs. He was the only HBCU with Division I talent, so of course he was going to blow everybody out of the water. Now he's competing with a bunch of high-profile recruiters who have connections all over the country, and if you're a star athlete and you're leveraging your future, you're going to go for the more sure bet. I mean, let's just be honest. Even Tennessee is a much more sure bet than Colorado right now. No one knows what to make of this Deion Sanders situation right now at Colorado. No one knows if it's going to work out. The truth of the matter is, and here's the really hard truth, Deion Sanders is going to have to win first before he can recruit at Colorado. He can't just recruit on his name alone at Colorado. And it's really, really hard to win at Colorado. And so he might be between a rock and a hard place here.
No, and he may win. His son's a very good quarterback, could start anywhere in the SEC, and he may win. But as far as Tennessee going against Colorado, if you see that matchup in recruiting, I would not be overly concerned. I think that Tennessee has a great opportunity to win that. Now, I think the next step of where it gets very interesting is the same thing that happened to Josh Heupel. Because what did Josh Heupel do in year 2? He beat Alabama. And then you started seeing recruiting dominoes fall, if not necessarily for the 2023 class, but the upcoming class. People were won over. People were excited. More people were attending University of Tennessee games. Is that going to happen for Colorado? I don't know. What would be the definition of that? I would say a winning season, right? Making it to a bowl game. And at the end of the day, you are playing in a remote area. I believe that you could recruit Compton and you could recruit South LA and have success there. And they did that before under Bill McCartney. But at the end of the day, you're in a Pac-12 that's about to get ripped apart. I almost think he would have been better off if he would have signed with if he had gone to. No offense to the late Mike Leach, but if Mississippi State had called, if they'd have made a change in the offseason, Mississippi State to me is about the lowest rung on the SEC tier. But I think the lowest rung on the SEC tier, the point I'm trying to make, is better than a decent tier in the Pac-12, right?
I agree. As a matter of fact, this might be a debate for another day because I wonder if Mississippi State has the least to sell of any SEC school, and that includes Vanderbilt, because they might be at the bottom in terms of the least to sell as a program. And,
yes.
I mean, I don't want to have to say that, but it's a little. There's just so many problems, notable problems with Mississippi State trying to sell. They needed a Mike Leach to sell, but I'm with you. They could still out recruit. I think Deion Sanders at Colorado. And here's the other thing. And this is a big one. And Dave, you covered coaches who come and go, who many melt down underneath this type of pressure. And I'm going to say it. Deion Sanders, to his credit, and it's a genius move. He's one of the best cornerbacks of all time, but he's also one of the few football players who was smart enough to create a brand around himself. The NFL is not like the NBA, whereas every NBA player, the NBA is about the individual. Always has been, always will be about the individual. The NFL is about the collective, with a few exceptions. Almost all those exceptions are quarterbacks. Deion Sanders is one of the few guys that, not being a quarterback, was able to create a brand around himself. Now, if you're a superstar athlete and you create a brand around yourself, one thing that you get used to is controlling the entire narrative around you. You control everything. You talked about it with fake reporters. When you become the head coach of a Power 5 football program, you have no control over the narrative. You cannot control the narrative.
Long term, you're right. He probably does now. I wonder if the reporters there are calling him Coach Prime, which I would never do, which he has requested to be called Coach Prime. Sorry, that's not going to happen. You know, if you don't like being called Deion, I'm not going to call you coach. You're not my coach. I mean, that's just that. I'm not going to say who, but at a media agency, they said, "Hey, everybody's tired of our host calling the coaches by their first name. You should call them coach out of respect." Out of respect for what? I mean, this is not a doctor that is doing some sort of bone graft on me. I'm going to call him doctor. Why am I going to call Lane Kiffin, who's younger than me, that doesn't coach me, a coach? And it just makes no sense. And if I called Philip Fulmer a coach instead of Philip, he'd look at me like I was weird or trying to kiss up or something. So, I mean, I just, that sort of penny ante stuff to me is going to undermine him. And it's something that Josh Heupel doesn't have because the program is genuine. I'll give you another one. So, you know how I was turned off by the reporters having the full notebooks, which nobody ever has, right?
Yeah.
Well, just like 2 weeks, I saw Believe in Him or something. This video, our videos pop up. Maybe some of ours do as well. But there's this video of him and his guys are trying to get 225, which is the standard at the NFL Combine on bench. And they were struggling to get it 1, 2, 3 times. And he lays down, "Don't ever doubt me. Don't ever doubt me." And he gets it like 12 to 15 times. Now, I'm not Deion Sanders level of athlete, but I am 50. I'm close to 50 years old. And I believe he's 53. Unless he lifted every day, he's not laying down and doing 225, 12 to 15 times. That is a substantial mark for a person that's 50 years old. So the first thing I thought is the outside plate is hollow. And they do this on bodybuilding videos all the time. That the ones that tell you need to do the special pump when you do the Arnold pump and all that. They're using hollow weights. So it makes it look like they're lifting more. So he's already lost his authenticity with me. And I wonder how many other people and then high school kids he'll lose that with. To me, it was because of the notepad thing. But now maybe people are.
There is a Emperor has no clothes moment with Deion Sanders.
Yes.
And it's going to take one player. The players are all going to buy in for a little while, but at some point there's going to be one notable player that points it out. The minute that one player points it out, everybody's going to start pointing it out.
Thank you. Rebecca says exactly. He's got to prove himself right now. He's just a lot of talk. I think that these kids can see some of that. Yeah, I think they can. And if I'm seeing it 49 years old, then they're seeing it quicker than me. Okay. Because kids see stuff a lot quicker. Kids will say, oh, that guy's a phony. My kids, way before I do. I mean, like weeks or months before I do, will say, that guy's a phony. My son said Russell Wilson's a phony. Like when he left the Broncos, left Seattle for the Broncos. He was right. And that was like a year ago. It took me to like last month to figure it out.
And also, kids aren't swept up by Deion the athlete. No kids today remember Deion the athlete. So
I will say that kids watch highlights. I thought you might go there. My son definitely knows who Deion and Bo Jackson is because of highlights.
yeah, but they're not going to be starstruck the way we would have been.
No, they don't realize that when he lined up for a punt return in the playoffs, that there was a 50-50 chance he was going to take it back.
Exactly.
They don't realize it was that scary for the other team.
I mean, there's not going to be they're not going to fall into the aura with Deion the way we might. And the other point is, yeah, on a smaller scale, you're seeing this, by the way, with Memphis and Penny Hardaway, who's not doing a bad job at Memphis. But as you know, Penny Hardaway is a transcendent legend in Memphis. They love him. He played for the Tigers from there. He's beloved in every way, came home to coach the team, and he's had a couple of meltdowns snapping at reporters for questioning his ability to do the job, because he's not used to that type of scrutiny. And I mean, I always say, like, the aura of people can fall fast. You know this, Dave, with Tennessee. Younger Vol fans in the 80s had no memory of Johnny Majors in the 50s. So they didn't feel any loyalty with him whatsoever.
No. Travis says, I disagree on 225. If you get to where you can bench 315 for multiples, you'll always be able to do 225 for reps. Just saying. Well, that's true. I did 300 once. I racked the weight. I asked the guy if he helped. He said no. I got my dog a case of beer and went on the boat and didn't work out for 6 weeks. So I did not get 315 for multiples. I got 3 once, and I was good with that.